Closet, a Todd Mills mystery. Book 1. Author R.D. Zimmerman. Publisher Scribble Pub, Minneapolis, Minnesota. Narrator Eric Aust. Chapter 34. "Oh, God, Corky, I just couldn't believe it," said Jeff, turning from side to side and checking his figure in the front hall mirror. "I looked up and there he was, Jesus H. Christ. I never thought he'd just come marching right into the bank like that. God, he's ballsy. I thought I was going to have to call the guards and have them drag him away." "What did he say?" "I don't know. He's such a prick. He wanted to know all about you, actually. All about when you and Michael did it. You know, fucked. My lord, some people just get so hung up on sex." Jeff waited a moment, then flopped his right hand at the wrist and added faintly, "Of course, I didn't tell him everything, only a few little tidbits, you know, the really juicy ones." Rawlings shook his head, took off his leather coat, threw it on a chair, and said, "I'll have to deal with that later. I'll say, you know, Todd would be absolutely crazy with jealousy if he ever found out you went over to Michael's after he was at the Gay Times. Hey, like I told you, I bumped into Michael down at the bar just after he'd seen you. He was all upset, so later on I just went over to give him a little comfort." "Yeah, right, you testosterone tiger. I know the comfort you give. All I'm saying is Todd would go ballistic, so watch it. And I'd be reprimanded if my department ever found out, so keep that flaming trap of yours shut." "Shit, you haven't told anyone already, have you?" "Good heavens, no, Corky dear," he said. But be careful. Todd's ought to find out what really happened. He really is the suspicious sort. Persistent, too." Jeff leaned forward, dabbed at the blue shadow that still remained on his lids. It was too blue, he thought. It really hadn't gone with the dress he'd worn tonight. The silver one. It made him look too cheap. Then again, maybe it was just these lights. Maybe on stage it was okay. He looked again, closed his left eye, then made a face. "Oh, ish," he moaned. "This color I wore tonight is just so tacky. I mean, how could I have been so stupid? I wonder if anyone was laughing at me." "Come on, gorgeous," said Rawlings. "Let's get to work." Yeah. Work, work, work. That's all I do. By day, I count money. By night, I belt out tunes. And now, you count money again." "Huh. What a life." Jeff hit another light switch and led the way through the front parlor, which was filled with overstuffed furniture and covered with woodwork, oak and mahogany, used in Victorian extravagance. One of Jeff's forebears had built this place, an entrepreneur from Boston, who'd come out here, wiped out the northern woods, and made a small fortune. "This place always amazes me," commented Rawlings. "Yeah, my great-granddaddy, the lumber queen, he was as much a show-off as me. Look at this millwork. It's everywhere and as thick as frosting on a wedding cake." Jeff led the way into the dining room, where the floor was inlaid with strips of mahogany. The door was framed with wooden lattice, and the walls decorated with mahogany, wainscoting and an intricate built-in buffet. In recognition and respect for the money, I'll bet dwindling, they'd inherited, his heirs had never painted any of the wood, leaving it as a memorial to their one semi-great relative. Yet 100 years later, Jeff, the family outcast, was the only one in his extended family who dared live in this dilapidated neighborhood, all the others having picked up their skirts and fled to the suburbs. Personally, I think the old man got a little carried away. I mean, I've always said woodwork is like makeup. Too much can ruin the whole effect. Jeff went over to one of the old gas fixtures on the wall, struck a match, then opened the valve and brought a flame to life. That's not to say I'm not all for a little flair and drama. Aren't these old fixtures marvelous? Looks a tad dangerous to me. Think romance, Corky. Hot romance. Yeah, right. You have all the papers, don't you? Asked Rawlings. I told you I did. Don't worry. Leaving the fixture burning, Jeff nodded and patted a small leather briefcase. I did it at lunch when most everyone was gone. It wasn't that hard, really, once I knew what to look for. Here, let's put it all out on the dinner table and see what we've got. How about you? You didn't have any problems, did you, sweetheart? From his pocket, Rawlings lifted the small envelope. It was right there in the mailbox, just like I'd hoped. One little bill that had all the account numbers on it, that's all. God, I work in a bank, and I just had no idea that embezzling was so easily. And Jeff laughed slightly and then yawned. Why didn't I think of this? With this kind of money, I could be dressed in diamonds from head to foot. Can't you see me in some sparkly tiara? As if that wouldn't be a dead giveaway that something was amuck. Oh, good Lord, you're as much a stick in the mud as TV Todd. Just think I wouldn't have to work at the bank, and wouldn't I look great with such real jewels? After all, diamonds are a girl's best friend. A red wig, and maybe I could pass for Fergie. I think the Queen Mum is more like it. Oh, stuff it, Corky. Would you? You gotta live, you know. You gotta take a bite of something and enjoy it while you're here. That police job really has made you all uptight, you know it? He stifled another yawn. I'm bushed, and this is going to take a while to go through. You want some coffee? I make it with a lot of character. Sure. And black. Strong and black. Just like that boyfriend of yours. Remember that one? What was he? Number 35. Jeff said, coyly, starting toward the kitchen. Like you say, stuff it. Silly boy, after all these years, don't you think I know absolutely everything about you? And where you put your heart? Rawlings shook his head and muttered, Just give me the fucking papers, would you? Right there in my briefcase. It's all in a file. All in order, too. 3 years' worth of data. Jeff lingered in the doorway to the kitchen, staring at his longtime friend, Steve Rawlings, Jr. He was good at hunches. Remarkable, actually. And there was something he'd been meaning to ask Corky. But he wondered, should he? Might it not stir up things? Well, who cares? He had a right to know. This could affect him as well. A fluffy gray cat slithered by, and Jeff said, Hello, Pussy Wussy. How are you tonight? I bet you're ready to go out and gobble up some naughty little mice. Jeff picked up the cat and cuddled it. Say, Corky, there's not something going on between you and TV Todd, is there? What the hell are you talking about? I don't know, just the way he looked when he mentioned your name. You know, he was more than upset. He was kind of in knots. Stroking Pussy, he had a... And you kind of get the same way whenever I mention his name. Here, I'll say it again and again. Todd. Todd. TV Todd. Todd. Shut up, Jeff, snapped Rawlings, glaring at him. You know, sometimes you're a real pain in the ass. Well, I can sense these things. After all, I'm quite turned into my feminine side. Everyone knows that, Jeff. Well, just don't forget, a zillion years ago, I was the first to figure out about you and Michael. He took a deep sigh. Poor Michael. What a pity. If only he hadn't been such a goddamn good accountant. Dear Lord, Jeff thought sadly as he passed through the pantry and into the kitchen. What a world. Poor Michael mutilated like that. Awful. The first of the banditos to leave this pathetic place. Who would have imagined? And it wasn't AIDS that got him either. Didn't we have fun, the three of us? Called Jeff, crossing through the kitchen and to the back door. I mean, it was the greatest, wasn't it? Growing up in Linden Hills? Yeah, it was fun. Fun. It was magic. Jeff opened the door, tossed out the cat, and said, Eat 'em up, pussy. And then he mused. That lake and our bikes. Shit. We got into a lot of trouble, didn't we? Do you remember the time we toilet papered that teacher's house? What was her name? The biology teacher, Miss Thatcher, wasn't it? God, was that hysterical or what? All that toilet paper hanging from that old pine tree in her front yard. I've never thanked you, have I? No one else would let me hang out with them. Do you know that? You and Michael were the only ones who were friendly to me. From out in the dining room, Rawlings offered. You were funny. Funny? Funny my ass. I was queer, and you two were too. We just didn't know it. No, correction. I always knew I was queer. I just didn't know what it meant. None of us did. No one knew diddly about sex, really. Not until puberty, anyway. But all the other boys were afraid of me. I think because I was different. The sissy. Unlike you and Michael, I was the obvious one. But you and Michael, well, you didn't see how different I was from everyone else. But how similar I was to you two, right? Don't you think? And then, miracle of miracles, we became this cool little group. And Jeff listened, waiting for an answer, then realized that his friend had put on some music. Corky, you faggot, can you hear me? Corky, turn down the flicking music and answer me, you dingaling. When no reply came over the voice of Al Jarreau, however, Jeff shook his head and started bustling around the kitchen, losing himself in memories. He didn't know what he would have done without Corky and Michael. Gone crazy, perhaps. They took Jeff everywhere with them, fishing, skating, to the movies, and sliding. Oh, God, they loved sliding on cardboard. The faster the better, even when it was 20 fucking degrees below fucking zero. Once they'd put him on a toboggan and sent him down this icy hill over by the picnic pavilion, and then he'd smashed into a tree and broken his ankle, as Jeff now put a pot of water on the stove, struck a match, and lit the gas. He laughed, for he'd never looked more butch in his life. Then in that clunky foot cast. Oh, the girls at the Gay Times wouldn't believe it. Sometime he'd have to show them a photo. He heard some floorboards creak in the old house and called over his shoulder. Is that you, girlfriend? Or want anything to eat? When no reply came, he glanced back, saw no one. Oh, that Corky. He was probably deep into the papers already, trying to figure out how to find even more money. All work, that boy. Always had been. Well, Jeff, for one, was hungry as hell. All that dancing, he thought, and singing. The stage lights, too. They sucked energy out of you. Performing always made him famished, and he turned to the refrigerator. Screw the diet. He needed to eat. Today had been much too stressful. No, the whole week had been too stressful. Peering into the fridge, he found some cold pasta and picked out a bit. Divine, he thought, and knowing he had to have more, he pulled out the whole bowl and set it on the counter. There it was again, that noise of someone moving quietly. He licked his fingers, peered past the blue flame of the stove and out the other doorway. What was Corky doing in the back hall? He obviously had passed from the dining room through the pantry and into the bathroom. I'm in here, darling, called Jeff. What the hell are you doing back there? Are you in the John or at the back hall? It's such a mess. Be careful, will you? There's mops and stuff. Dear Jesus, I don't want you taking a tumble. But no reply came. Jeff shook his head and quickly picked at a bit more pasta, slurping the long noodles into his mouth, gobbling them down. He walked toward the rear passage. Corky, he saw a figure standing there, in the dark. Oh, there you are, you silly. Here, let me get you some light. As Jeff reached for the switch, the figure suddenly leaped forward instinctively. Jeff jumped back, but the other man was faster and caught Jeff by the wrist. Jeff was about to shout out, but he was clipped on the chin, and pain shot through his head and down his body. An instant later, a powerful fist rammed his gut and knocked the wind completely out of him. Jeff grabbed at his stomach, doubled over, gasped for air, bent over, and trying to breathe. He glanced to his right, saw the basement stairs. No, please, don't throw me. Suddenly, something hard and solid hit him on the back of his head, and Jeff's world went as dark as a blackened stage. Gay Mysteries audiobooks. I think it is easy to hate a label, but a face humanizes the word. So this effort is twofold. to offer comfort to those like myself that your world didn't end because you don't fit into the view of acceptable society on both sides. And in hopes of helping those with family that are LGBTQ, that it doesn't mean we are aliens from the child they once knew. Reassure them so they can maybe be supportive at the same time, being true to their values.